Experts say that faith-based organizations play an important role in shaping U.S. policy and global affairs by leveraging their unique position at the intersection of spirituality, community service, and advocacy. Dr. Agorom Dike, the president of the Caribbean and African Faith-Based Leadership Conference, tells me that faith-based organizations often serve as trusted community anchors, working closely with government agencies to combat systemic challenges while promoting policies that reflect their values. He joins me to talk about the World Leaders Peace and Harmony Inaugural Ball and Summit that will be held to commemorate the inauguration of President Donald Trump.
We will be having approximately 5 events in 2 days under the caption World Leaders Peace and Harmony Inaugural Ball and the U.S. African Caribbean Economic Sustainable Development Summit. The program begins with the U.S. President's Lifetime Achievement Awards, where we will use this opportunity to bring together a number of our leaders who are coming from different parts of the United States, who have done significant volunteer service to the advancement of America, to helping to empower human beings through education, through social justice work, through volunteerism with healthcare, numerous aspects of advancing human life. We're going to be recognizing them with that award. That award is an award that is issued by the Office of the President of the United States in partnership with AmeriCorps. And once someone has done over 4,000 hours or more of extraordinary service, they can be recognized. And so we will be using the opportunity to recognize them with that award from the President of the United States of America.
Okay. And how does this event aim to celebrate the inauguration of the 47th president in a way that leaves a lasting impact?
Permit me to say that in addition to the award, there will be a VIP networking reception that will bring together our diplomats and different stakeholders and leaders from the African Caribbean diaspora, but also people. When we say world, it's not just Africa, Caribbean, but it's people from Asia, the Middle East, Australia, all over that are invited, internationally and from the diaspora, that will come together in this event. So the Presidential Award more focused on Americans, African Americans, Caribbean, but the reception, it's more of a global, look.
A global convening.
Right,
Yeah.
And then we will be having a ball after the reception. There'll be a ball/concert. And at the ball, we'll be having this organization called the World Federation of World Peace and Love. They are one of our strongest bilateral partners that we partner with in promoting world peace. And so Dr. Hong Toise, the leader of the World Federation Peace and Love organization based in California, they will be facilitating the ringing of the bell of peace. And they will be presenting an award called the Key to the Heart Award, or the Peace Bell Award. We have selected several world leaders, diplomats, and stakeholders, including faith-based leaders, that will ring the bell of peace. And this ringing of the bell of peace is making a commitment on behalf of their constituency and communities that they will help to foster a more peaceful and harmonious world. And so we're using this opportunity to promote peace. And peace for us is not just the opposite of war. Peace, from the Hebrew word shalom, means wholeness, good health, prosperity, life, whatever brings comfort and wholeness to you as a human being. That's what we're promoting. Peace in America, peace in the world. There's so much concerns about the war in Gaza. There's so much concerns about what is going to happen between Taiwan and China, and in Sudan, different places where we're experiencing tribal wars, gang violence in the Caribbean, and so forth. And so we're using the opportunity to say, we want a more peaceful world. We want a more harmonious world. And these leaders will be ringing the bell of peace, and that will be opening the ball. And one of the exciting moments is we will have one of a renowned singer that will be singing, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me," as we call everyone to commit that the peace that we're looking for in this world must begin with all of us.
Yes.
And after the ringing of the bell ceremony, we will be having 5 international award-winning gospel artists, including Sinach, including Papa San from Jamaica, the Caribbean. Sinach, of course, is from Nigeria. Jumbo, Nigerian. Chevelle Franklin and Uche Ago. These are top musical icons, leaders. These are the Michael Jackson of the Caribbean and the African community that we are bringing together from around the world. They're coming pro bono to join in promoting peace, but to give entertainment, to give a message of peace to the audience in the form of a concert. And that's what January 20th looks like. The 21st is another issue, but that's January 20th.
That sounds like
Day.
it'll be very much fun. Let's talk a little bit about the African and the Caribbean community, the role that they play in their communities, in the wider American diaspora.
Well, when you talk about African Caribbean community, you know, it's either, it's broad. We can talk about African Caribbean diaspora in the US, which represents over 70 nations here, or 75 nations, or the global community. But just to say that the African Caribbean community is very interesting. But one of the things that people need to know is that when you talk about the people of African Caribbean, we are one people with one common destiny. We all have our roots in Africa, and we also don't exclude African Americans when we talk about the African and Caribbean community, because when you talk about African diasporans, we have what you call the historical African diasporan, that are the African Americans that are here, descendants of slave, before the emancipation of the African nations. Those are those descendants, their ancestors came before slavery, slavery was abolished, or before the nations became free. So those are historical. The African Americans are the historical African diasporas. But the ones who came here after the emancipation of the countries in the 1860s, 1865 in some nations, we call those the continental African diasporans. So myself, my dad is from Nigeria, Imo State, Nigeria. My mother is from Jamaica. But I came here during the season, the free era, not in shackles, not a descendant of slave. So I am considered a continental African diasporan. So everyone that has come here either on F1 visa, J1 visa, student visa, visitors visa, whatever visas we came from, we applied for. We are continental. Most continental African diasporans have a different accent, a different way of speaking. And so we're bringing together the historical, the continental African diasporans together to engage and to celebrate. We're commemorating President Trump inauguration because he is now our leader. And for us, one of the reasons why we are even doing this event, the leader of America, the leader of the free world, is not just a leader of a nation, but he has a role to play in bringing harmony, peace, resolving, dealing with safety and security and all of that in numerous nations. As you know, US have one of the largest army, partnering with NATO to bring safety and security. And one of the expectations that the faith community have for President Trump is that he will be the president to help to restore and to bring some peace and order. Not that there are different opinions on this, but there is an expectation that when he takes over office, he will have a responsibility to help to restore peace and order in the world.
Let me ask you about faith-based leadership. How does faith-based leadership connect with economic growth and, driving social transformation?
Well, I'm a Christian, although we promote interfaith activities. But permit me to use the scripture where Jesus said in Luke 4:18 and 19, that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, and to set at liberty them that are bruised. And when you talk about to bring good news to the poor, good news to the poor is not just evangelizing and proselytizing. Good news to the poor is helping to empower the poor, the voiceless. When you are poor in America or anywhere in the world, you don't have a strong voice. You don't have a strong sense of influence. You don't have a strong sense of comfort. And so when you talk about the impact of faith community, in our communities, we have urban communities, we have rural communities, we have issues with agriculture, We have issues with food security. We have issues with farmers not able to have equipment. When you travel all over Africa and in some parts of the Caribbean, there are serious health disparities, lack of proper health care facilities, and all of that. Lack of finance opportunities to access loans, to access equipment for businesses and startups and all of these types of things. And it's very, very important that the faith community plays a role with that. One of the things I like about what President George W. Bush, who started the faith-based office in the White House, he talks about the fact that faith-based leaders must be critical stakeholders in engaging community, because we're there before the disaster. We're there during the disaster and part of the disaster. We are part and parcel of the community. Faith community has the largest gathering of people on a Sunday morning. Even in the diaspora, the largest gathering we have over 11,000 African-American churches in the United States. And to reach them is through the faith community. We receive a lot of funds from our community, separate from the government. Maybe the largest funds. We have a responsibility to give back to the community, to empower the community. Faith community is not just a spiritual community of pastors and people that just worship. It's a community of medical doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs and economists and all of that. And with all the gifts, and the Bible says that just as you excel just as you excel, you must excel in the grace of giving. So with all the gifts and talents and resources and intellectual capacity that we have as a faith community, we have a responsibility to give back. And just know that when you look at the history of faith communities, the Catholics, look at the hospitals all over the world, look at most of our universities in the countries in the US and Africa and the Caribbean, they're built by faith communities, hospitals, the Adventist hospitals and so forth. So faith community historically has always played a role in economic development. When you look at in the Caribbean, when we had the faith community played a role in the post-emancipation of the slaves. They play a role in bringing the different partnerships, cooperatives for people to save money, to own land, and all of that in the post-emancipation period, so that people could have a sense of livelihood. So when you look at the work of the missionaries all over the world, faith communities playing a great role in building schools, building hospitals, and so forth. And so here, we have to continue to motivate our African Caribbean churches to contribute, to partner with faith communities overseas, and not just within our context, but we reach out to people in India, in Taiwan, in South Korea,
in a global
other
context,
places, to promote economic development and to advance the social welfare of our people. That's very important to the missional mandate of various faith communities.
Let's talk a little bit more about that White House faith-based cabinet office. You've been liaison to it for 11 years now. What can you tell us about the office itself, what it does, and your role? Are there any initiatives or policies that you've helped to develop in this time that you've been in this role?
One of the things that I like about America and that a lot of people don't know is the presence or the establishment or the executive order that has been issued by President George W. Bush, but is reissued by each president as they proceed with their administration, is the establishment of White House faith-based cabinet offices, is that it has about 14 or more cabinet offices that are in USAID, Homeland Security, Department of Health, Department of Commerce, Department of Small Business Administration, Department of Veteran Affairs, USAID, Department of Agriculture. All these offices, there is a faith-based center that operates under the White House faith-based office, which is currently led by Dr. Melissa Rogers, who is currently leading the faith-based administration under Biden, and she was the leader during the time of President Barack Obama. These offices helps to facilitate the opportunities for growth, opportunities for engagement, opportunities for healthcare enrollment, opportunities for safety and security. They help to facilitate grants. They help to facilitate connections with the resources in each of these cabinets. So whatever Homeland Security provides for community. The faith-based cabinet offices helps with that, helps with disaster preparedness, help people to access resources, disaster training, help to provide grants for houses of worship and so forth. So my role as the liaison for the organization to the White House faith base is to represent the interests of the African and Caribbean faith leaders, not just Christians, but our Muslim leaders, our Afro-spiritual churches, our indigenous Caribbean, like Rastafari and all of these, the Ethiopian Orthodox, and all of the different indigenous and traditional African religions and Caribbean religions in the United States. There's a lot of programs the White House have, like the pluralism program, the program that celebrates the work of faith-based organization. And this is a very important office that gives us access to access and engage the administration. And one of the significant things I like about the faith-based office is that when President Barack Obama became president, of course, he established a faith-based cabinet office in the USAID office and in the Office of State Department called the Office of Religious and Global Affairs. And what those two offices does, not only focus on citizens within the United States or domestic policy, because the faith-based office in the White House works closely with the Office of Domestic Policy Council, but these international office gives an opportunity for faith and diplomacy program where the U.S. government has invested extensive resources in reaching out and giving support to faith-based institutions outside of the United States. And since those offices were established, we were among the first to engage those offices to ensure that there is a harmonious engagement and fruitful engagement with those offices and our significant or critical stakeholders within the African and the Caribbean continent, because those offices, the benefits of those offices are international. And so we help to facilitate the relationship, the opportunities,
and the engagement
and the partnerships between the international community.
In your view, how can these faith-based organizations contribute to shaping U.S. policy and strengthening international relations?
By being an advocate. We need more pastors, we need more leaders, we need more, our church have economists. We can talk about the budget of America. We can talk about the health care. We have, as Africans, we have over 1/3 of the black medical doctors. Nigerian alone has over 10,000 medical doctors here in the United States. So we are saturated with so many medical professionals, economists, educators. We are among the highest in the STEM, the grade. We have a rising group of graduates and intellectuals and industry experts in our faith base. And so through the faith-based office at the White House, through our meetings and engagement, we have an opportunity to make recommendations. We have an opportunity to provide advisory to the U.S. government. We have an opportunity to engage in intergovernmental dialogues, but not only influence policy at the White House, but as we engage with the different cabinet offices, as we engage with Homeland Security, as we engage with small business, we can make suggestions. What can the U.S. Department of Commerce do for the black community or the diaspora community? And so we are able to make recommendations. We are able to work together, which we have had good relationships, and we're able to partner. But not just that, the U.S. government have been doing a lot. But one of the things is a lack of awareness. Many of the churches don't know that they can get a grant for $450,000 for safety and security just to protect the members on a Sunday morning. Every African and Caribbean church in this country is eligible to apply for a grant like that, to apply for the summer food program, pandemic food program, to apply for agricultural program, to apply for loans from the Small Business Administration. And there's a lot of business, small business owners, people looking for capital and access, does not know that they can access this. And that is why the White House has put what the faith-based office in these cabinet offices, small business, so that there can be smooth transition, but to create a greater sense of awareness. Because when people don't aware, they said in Jamaica, without a vision, the people perish. And so when we don't have awareness, we live in ignorance, and we don't know how
darkness.
to access.
Yes.
And that is one of the things, that is one of the achievements that this organization have done. Promote awareness and help people to have access. We have bring together hundreds of people to the White House for Caribbean Heritage Month, African Heritage, not African-American, but different faith-based meetings and gathering. And we have always worked together in giving them access to our leaders, but also giving our leaders access to the
them.
administration.
Right. Absolutely. Dr. Dike, thank you so much for taking time to come and chat with us today. Where can people follow it?
We would definitely, okay, so our website is cafblc.com. That is cafblc.com. Go and get a ticket to the presidential inaugural dinner, the VIP networking reception, where we have invited diplomats not only from Africa and the Caribbean, because one of the things people need to know is that we recognize people who do for Africa who are not Africans. So whether you're Caucasian, Chinese, and you do for Africa, we recognize and honor you in our events.
Them,
and so our events is an opportunity for everyone to engage, cafblc.com. The event will be at the Capitol Hilton Hotel, January 20th. We didn't talk about the 21st, but the 21st is where we will be having the U.S. African Economic Sustainable Development Summit, where there is a schedule of activities. We'll be talking about health disparity, capital access, how you access finance, food security, and all of these stuff, how we can engage, immigration reform, and all of these type of things. And so where we talk about how can we contribute to a new U.S.-Africa policy, how can we make recommendations to President Trump's administration on the matters of U.S., African, and Caribbean policies, domestic policies here in the diaspora, but also international policies. So this summit is to bring a dialogue and to have some kind of engagement. And then we're going to end the summit with what you call a legacy, business leaders legacy dinner. We're going to be bringing a lot of folks together. We invite a lot of diplomats, business leaders, stakeholders, internationally and domestic, to have a legacy dinner. And we will be recognizing some folks who have contributed to building the African and Caribbean legacy through economic development, through trade, through investment, through healthcare. Because one of the things, people think that as an Africans, we just depend on people or we depend on charity. But we have hundreds of Africans here that are engaged in mission. You look at the remittances we send back home to help our people. But not only that, we are helping our families, but we have so many doctors and so many pastors and lawyers that have built hospitals, like Dr. Felicia Bassi Akamune, who is our vice chair. She just opened up a health center in Calabar State, Nigeria. Dr. Mercy Obamogi, who's going to be one of the honorees, was one of her first. She just built an ambulatory medical hospital in the state of Benin. She's a doctor right here in the state of Maryland. And you have so many others, Dr. Chantal Bicoy from Cameroon. And so what are we doing? We are bringing together those who are doing stuff in Jamaica, building clinics, hospitals, those who are building schools. We have so many people that have built schools in Gambia, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Botswana, in Ivory Coast, in Uganda, in Kenya, and all of that. And so we're bringing together those who are engaged in the social entrepreneurship, the social advancement of people through education, but also through spiritual leadership. And so anyone who hear me, who know that you're contributing, let us know about you. We want to recognize your work. We want the President of the United States to recognize what you do here, but the organization also wants to recognize what you do internationally. And so we're bringing together all these people to engage in dialogue, to partner. And over the years, what I like, people partner. I see them connect, I see them partner in doing projects together. So all of this is to promote peace, to promote economic development, and to promote transformational leadership, not only through faith-based partnership, but through empowering all our people. We want our ASAs and CSAs, our African Student Associations, our Caribbean Student Associations on the different campuses to reach out, because we see ourselves as a body, a conglomerate of people to mentor our students on F1 visas and J1 visas that needs to connect with folks here. And sometimes, like even the disaster, students are kicked off campuses. They have nowhere to stay. It's a faith-based community that get our members to open up churches to give people a place to stay, and so on. So we are the hub. We see ourselves as the hub, and our goal is to Advance, we're a non-profit organization here in Washington, D.C., and so we want everyone, come, celebrate, connect. Let's hear your ideas, and let us do something great for the African Caribbean community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dike. Appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks for having me.